Hello everyone, I am Dr. Vanita, Faculty of Zoology, and today we will be dealing about the type study rabbit. And to study the rabbit, we here today will be dealing about endoskeleton of rabbit. So, endoskeleton of rabbit Oryctolagus cuniculus is a lightweight bony framework. Now, when we happen to know about the endoskeleton, it is a lightweight. This particular endoskeleton comprising of skull, all the bones in the body. So, all the bones these are lightweight, and it is only about 7 to 8% of the body weight. So, when we compare to human skeleton, endoskeleton, the endoskeleton of human being is around 16% of the body weight. So, as against man, rabbit bone weight is quite less, 7 to 8% of the body weight. It is primarily composed of bones with minimum cartilage, and it is divided into axial skeleton, appendicular skeleton. So, axial skeleton comprises of skull, spine and the ribs, and appendicular skeleton comprises of limbs and the girdles. So, these are the pelvic girdle and the pectoral girdle. And coming to the bones, why the bone weight is light? So, rabbit has fragile bones, which means that the bones are very light, and this fragility is more found in the skull because they are adapted for grazing and speed. So, for this movement, highly motility of organism, the bone weight of this particular organism is quite light. So, moving on to the axial skeleton, which is the skull. The rabbit skull is light and delicate. As we have seen, it is light and delicate with large orbits or the eye sockets with a wide field of vision. The field of vision is wide, and it has characteristic zygomatic arc and specialized dentition for gnawing and two pairs of upper incisors. So, this is the structure of the skull, having two pairs of upper incisors, one pair of lower incisors, and various regions of the skull, the upper jaw, lower jaw, and different regions of the skull. So, this is on the picture of the skull region, where we have different kinds of bones in the skull like squamosal, parietal, and various vertebra. And apart from that, optic fossa is there, temporal fossa is present beneath the regions of the lower near the lower jaw we find, and maxilla is upper jaw, then mandibles is the lower jaw. So, coming to more important information about skull, the rabbit skull is highly specialized and lightweight structure adapted for herbivorous grazing and acute sensory perception, and it is characterized by thin fragile bones and large laterally placed ribs, and it is having 28 continuously growing teeth, including prominent open rooted incisors and a prominent diastema. So, this diastema means the gap which is present between the teeth, and maxillae that are fenestrated. So, fenestrated means there are small porous, or this particular maxillae are not very hard. In fact, fenestrated means it is having small pores in it. They are porous and mesh like. As a result, the jaw is very light. This particular skull is very light. So, these are the regions of the skull. So, some of the structural key features include a posterior cranial part which is having the brain, and the anterior facial part which is having the various sense organs and the jaw. Coming to the teeth and the jaw, this particular feature of the teeth and the jaw, it is having 28 constantly growing teeth. So, the number of teeth are 28, and the different kinds of teeth are incisors, premolars and molars. The mandible is designed for lateral side to side grinding of coarse vegetation rather than vertical shearing. So, in many mammals we have vertical grinding of teeth, whereas in rabbit, like in other herbivorous animals like cattle, there is side to side grinding of the teeth, which is found in the rabbit. Now, coming to maxilla fenestration, this maxillary bone is extensively fenestrated, which is a key morphological feature in rabbits and hares, reducing the skull mass and possibility for locomotion or as a response to masticatory mechanics. So, maxillar fenestration is a phenomena found in rabbits. That means this particular the jaw bone of the skull is very light, having minute pores, making it very light structure of the skull. And the jaw joint, the mandibular or the lower jaw is called the mandibular. The mandibular fossa allows the lower jaw to grind in a side to side motion. So, the grinding of the teeth is in a side to side, or the jaw is moving side to side. So, there is a mandibular fossa, or there is a perforation in the mandibles. So, this is also one of the characteristic feature of mammals. So, this also is a point of differentiation or the classification depending upon the fossa. So, based upon that, synapsid skull, this is defined as a synapsid skull or having one temporal fossa on the lower part of the skull. This is one of the characteristic feature of the mammals, which is the synapsid skull. Another important feature is the cranial structure. The skull features a pronounced arcing of the dorsal skull and the ventral flexion for the facial region. And other characteristic feature, it is a dicondylic skull. So, what does it mean, dicondylic skull? It means that there is two occipital condyles at the back for articulation with the vertebral column. There are other classes where it is monocondylic, that means there is only one, there are no occipital condyle. So, here dicondylic means there are two occipital condyle, two bones present at the back of the neck, which is helping for the movement of the skull, and these two bones are attached, one to the vertebral column and other to the skull. So, having a dicondylic skull means there is good motion, there is good movement of the neck region. So, this is a advanced characteristic feature of mammals. So, this is the skull region, and we have the temporal fossa present here, the synapsid skull. So, these are the various regions of the skull or the parts of the skull. Coming to the dentition or the rabbit teeth. Rabbit dentition is uniquely adapted for a high fiber herbivorous diet characterized by hypsodont or continuously growing teeth. That means that when it is continuously having the food or the herbivorous diet, if the teeth happens to fall back, another teeth grows. So, this phenomena of the teeth growing continuously is called as hypsodont teeth. Then rabbit has 28 teeth, and these are specialized into incisors, premolars and molars. There are no canines or the sharp teeth which are present, as it is a herbivorous animal. And continuously growing feature, continuous growth of teeth, a specific feature of rabbit where the teeth grows continuously and approximately 2 millimeter per week throughout their life. So, there is constantly weigh down because of extensive chewing of the fibrous material. So, whenever the tooth is broken, there another tooth is grown in them. So, some more extra characteristic feature of dentition is that it is a heterodont, that means the teeth of 3 different kinds, incisors, premolars and molars, which are mainly used for cutting and grinding. And the second important feature is that it is a thecodont, That means their teeth are firmly embedded in deep bony sockets of the jaw. So, in the jaw, the teeth are deeply embedded. So, this feature is called as thecodont. Another important feature is diphyodont. That means that rabbits have two different sets of teeth in their lifetime. As they are acquainted, the milk teeth or the deciduous teeth and the permanent teeth. So, these two different types of teeth is present milk teeth and permanent teeth, characteristic feature of mammals. And we can have a look at the dentition of rabbit. Incisors which are present, incisors are blue in color, auxiliary incisors which are green in color. So, two incisors in front and on the upper jaw, and behind the two incisors we see the auxiliary incisors which are again peg like in structure, and incisors down are only one pair, and premolars and molars are present, and this gap is present between the incisors and molars, premolars. So, this is called diastema. So, some more features of rabbit is that it's peg like tooth. That means that it is some the tooth is having a unique structure of small auxiliary incisors located behind the large upper incisors. So, we are acquainted about the large incisors which are present, and behind that there is a peg like teeth, peg tooth which are present. So, this is auxiliary tooth which is present in them. So, first incisors, then second incisors. This is the structure. Then diastema is absence of canine. The space is present prominent gap which is called as a diastema, which exists between the incisors and the premolars. So, there is a gap which is present between the incisors and the premolars. So, this gap is called as a diastema. And coming to the dentition of rabbit, dental formula of rabbit is 2 multiplied by incisors, canines, premolars and molars, which is coming round to 28. So, the teeth are large, ever growing incisors, and they lack the canine teeth. So, knowing about the formula, we are having 2 multiplied by 2 incisors and on the upper jaw, that means 2 by 1, 2 incisors on the upper jaw, 1 incisor on the lower jaw. It means that 2 pairs of incisors on the upper jaw and 1 pair of incisors on the lower jaw, followed by canines which are not present, and premolars, 3 pairs of premolars which are present on the upper jaw and 2 pairs of premolars which are present on the lower jaw, followed by the molars which are 3 pairs both in upper jaw and the lower jaw. So, total number of teeth present is 28 in number. After knowing about the skull and the dentition, we move to the axial skeleton. This axial skeleton consists of vertebral column and vertebral column which are starting after the skull. It is starting after the skull till the tail points. So, this vertebral column, it provides stability and support for the high speed leaping locomotion. As we are acquainted, rabbits move very fast and then they jump. So, this kind of jumping or leaping locomotion, for this they have very good vertebrae for these kinds of movements, and the number of vertebrae present are 45 to 47 vertebrae, which are organized as into cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral and caudal. When we are just finding out the number of cervical, there are 7 cervical vertebrae present. So, this cervical vertebrae are present from the skull through the neck region till the back. So, these cervical vertebrae are 7 in number, followed by 12 to 13 thoracic vertebrae. So, these thoracic vertebrae are the vertebrae which are behind the ribs or towards the back, followed by the lumbar region or covering the digestive system, abdominal region. There are 7 lumbar vertebrae, followed by sacral vertebrae, which are joining the pelvic girdle, and the caudal vertebrae, which are after the sacral vertebrae, and it leads to the tailbones. There are 15 to 16 caudal vertebrae. So the formula of the vertebral column is cranial 7, thoracic 12 to 13, lumbar 7, sacral 4, caudal 15 to 16. So this is the complete structure of the endoskeleton of rabbit, starting from the skull to the vertebrae, followed by the hind limbs and the forelimbs, in addition to the ribs, the skeleton of rabbit. So regions of vertebral column, as we have seen, cervical is 7, thoracic is 12 to 13, lumbar is 7, sacral is 4, and caudal is 15 to 16. So after the skull we have the cervical, which constitutes the neck region, then the thoracic region, which are part of the ribs, which are behind the ribs, and lumbar, which are the abdominal region, followed by the pelvic girdle, sacrum, and the tail region is the caudal region. Now coming to the first important vertebral bones which are present, the 7 cervical bones. So these vertebrae are around the neck region, and this cervical region, it allows for nodding movement, so movement of the neck region, while the second are large and providing ridge like neural spine for attachment of the neck muscle, the various muscles in the neck. So these are the 7 bones which are helping the animal to move the head and attaching various muscles to the neck region. So these are the cervical vertebrae. Next, moving on to the thoracic, which are 12 to 13 in number, is located in the chest, and these attach to the ribs. The thoracic region features a vertebrae which is key in spine flexibility. So thoracic regions are important for the movement of the spine and the flexibility of the organs. So these are the thoracic bones which are present, the vertebrae which are present, 12 to 13 thoracic vertebrae. Coming to lumbar region, so these vertebrae are really strong and robust, and they support the weight of the abdomen. So these are the vertebrae which are helping to support the abdominal regions like stomach, intestine, as these are the vertebrae behind the abdominal region. So these are the lumbar vertebrae consisting of transfer processes and various regions like centrum and neural spine. So these are the lumbar vertebrae which are present, followed by the sacral vertebrae, which are only 4 in number. These vertebrae are fused together to form a single structure known as the sacrum. Now this connects the vertebral column to the pelvic girdle. So sacral vertebrae consists of neural spines and centrum, and these are the vertebrae which is connecting to the pelvic girdle. So we can see the sacrum and the pelvic girdle which are being connected, followed by the region, caudal region. So caudal region or the caudal tail, so these are located in the tail, and these are 15 or 16 in number, and they are smaller and become more reduced in size following. So the caudal bone is bigger, and then it is reduced in size as it keeps going. The number of bones are following reduced in size, as you can see the picture of the caudal vertebrae. So we have known about the different kinds of vertebrae in the vertebral column. Now we move on to ribs and sternum. Now a thin narrow sternum and 12 to 13 pairs of ribs protect the thoracic region. In the thoracic region, we have around 12 to 13 pairs of ribs, and holding the ribs there is a sternum which is very narrow. Now we will be knowing more about ribs. Now rabbits have 12 pairs of ribs associated with the thoracic vertebrae, and the ribs are connected to the thoracic vertebrae, and they protect the thoracic cavity. The purpose of the ribs and the vertebral column is to protect the thoracic cavity, and they are classified into sternal ribs, sternal which are the true ribs, then false ribs which are the asternal, and floating ribs which are the last two pairs and being floating. So it means to say that the sternal ribs are some sort of the true ribs which are present, and these are 7 pairs of sternal ribs followed by asternal which are 3 pairs, and floating ribs which are the last regions, and they are termed as floating because they are not connected to the sternum, and these are 2 pairs. So, ribs are very important as a supporting organ for the chest wall and surrounding the inner organs. Coming to the ribs, as we have seen about the different kinds of ribs which are present, 7 pairs of true ribs, and then false ribs 3 pairs, and 2 pairs of floating ribs. And the first rib is very short, flat and C-shaped, the first rib, and it is some kind of structural anchor, while the other ribs are longer, and we can see here the structure of the ribs and the sternum. So, the sternum which is holding the ribs together, and the sternal ribs are present, true ribs, false ribs, and the floating ribs which are present. Now coming to the appendicular skeleton. Pectoral girdle and forelimbs comprises of the appendicular skeleton, and it consists of scapula, shoulder blade, and the clavicle are the small vestigial with limbs designed for supporting weight. The radius and ulna separate and allowing for the flexibility. So, appendicular skeleton consists of 128 bones comprising of the pectoral and the pelvic girdle, and it also has the forelimbs and the hind limbs which are designed for hopping and locomotion. So, appendicular skeleton consists of 128 bones having both the girdles and hind limbs and forelimbs. Now, the key structures include the scapula, humerus, radius ulna, femur, and the tibiofibula. So, these are the bones of the forelimbs and the hind limbs. Apart from this, we have the girdles which include the shoulder girdle and the pelvic region. These are the two girdles, pectoral girdle and the pelvic girdle, which are supporting the weight, and these girdles are also connecting the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So, this is a picture of pelvic girdle and the forelimbs. So, how pelvic girdle and the forelimbs are connected. Now, when we happen to look at the pectoral girdle or the shoulder girdle, there is the pectoral girdle and the forelimbs. These are the thoracic limbs, and pectoral girdle comprises of large triangular scapula with a spine and acromion processes which are small rod like clavicle. This is a picture of the pectoral girdle. We can see this regions of the pectoral girdle having scapula and a spine, and the acromion processes which are present on the spine region. In addition, we are having various structures like coracoid processes, coracoid bones, and suprascapular and the scapular region. And coming to the forelimbs, it is composed of humerus, which is the upper arm. Humerus is one of the important bone of the upper arm, and the other bones are radius and ulna. So, forearm often they are fused, and it is a proximal. So, important regions of the forelimbs are the humerus and radius ulna, which are the forearm, and these are oftenly fused. And other than that, there are carpal bones, or the bones of the wrist region, and the bones of the hands are called as metacarpals, and the digits are called as the fingers. So, these are the structures of the forelimbs. So, this is the first bone is the humerus, which is a stronger bone consisting of coronoid fossae, and different regions are present. Apart from that, we have radius and ulna which are present here. So, these are fused here. Then the bones of the hand, which are the tarsus, metacarpals and the phalanges. Coming to the digits, as the first finger is having 2 phalanges and the rest are having 3 phalanges. The first is having 2 phalanges and the rest are having 3 phalanges. So, appendicular skeleton, we move on to the pelvic girdle and hind limbs. So, this pelvic girdle and the hind limbs, so hind limbs are adapted more for jumping feature and having a large pelvis comprising of bones like femur, tibia and fibula. The feet have 4 digits or 4 fingers only. The pelvic girdle comprises of 2 innominate coxal bones, each formed by fusion of ilium, ischium and pubis. So, these are attached to the sacral vertebrae. So, here the 3 important regions are ilium, ischium and pubis. This is the pubis region and then the ilium and ischium region. So, this is the pelvic girdle of rabbit. The 3 important bones are ilium, ischium and the pubis of the pelvic girdle. Now we will know more about the hind limbs. The hind limbs are composed of femur, tibia, fibula, shank. Tarsus are the ankle regions which are present. Metatarsals are the foot and phalanges are the toes. The femur is very strong bone, consists of a single piece and it is having 3 trochanters, which means the projections which are present on the bones which are to hold the ligaments and other bones. The tubular fibula are fused and they are designed for the support. So, this is the region of the femur and this is tibia fibula. Apart from that, there are 4 femur and these are femur bones which are very strong bones and the tibia and fibula are fused. Then digits, there are 4 fingers which are digits which are present and the first finger is absent. Now, key feature of rabbit is that this is a lightweight construction and the endoskeleton is very light and it is fragile and it is susceptible to injury from improper handling. As you can see, the rabbit is very light, having a lightweight endoskeleton. The skeletal system is very light and it is very fragile and it is porous and the bone structure is specially articulated. It consists of ligaments and dentition. Unlike other rodents, rabbits have 2 pairs of upper incisors and small second pair behind the main ever growing and chisel shaped incisors. So, these are the various specialized features of rabbit. So, endoskeleton of rabbit, it is having some characteristic feature and this are divided into axial skeleton, axial comprising of the skull, spine, ribs and the appendicular ribs and girdles. So, these are the 2 major parts of the endoskeletal, having axial region, skull, spine, ribs, appendicular consists of girdles and the limbs. And apart from this, as we have seen, the bones are very fragile and the skull is adapted for the grazing and the speed of the organism. And this axial skeleton and the skull are having some kind of a porous structure in the lower jaw, upper jaw and the dentition. These are the having the porous structure, giving the organism a very fast adaptation to the various movements of locomotion. And the characteristic feature of skull is that it is very specialized and having more of sensory perception and the specialized structures, lightweight structures are adaptable for the herbivorous grazing and sensory perception of the organism. And other characteristic features are the dentition, which are absence of canines. So these constitute some of the important characteristics of the axial skeleton in the skull, and the appendicular structures having pelvic girdles and the forelimbs and the hind limbs. So these are helping the organism for good movement and adaptation to the fast movement of the organism. So by this we know more about the endoskeleton of rabbit having more of lightness in the body, and the adaptation of this rabbit to the herbivorous diet, and that particular adaptation to barorial nature and movement is helping the organism in a good uh, structural specificity of mammals, and taking care of this structure specificity of the endoskeleton, and it is a representation of the mammalian kingdom, and the various regions of the skeleton, endoskeleton, starting from the axial endoskeleton to the appendicular exoskeleton, we have noticed striking speciality from different regions like the skull, dentition, and the forelimbs and the hind limbs, especially the girdles also. So this has made this organism a uniqueness in this kind of this kind of representation of the endoskeleton, and this also is some sort of sample of the case study which also we find in many other mammals despite small differences. So by this I would like to conclude about the endoskeleton of rabbit, and we'll be knowing about many more systems in the further days. So thank you one and all for having listening this endoskeleton, one of the important physiological study of rabbit. Thank you.